I will hit it with a like and a retweet and quote it and stuff.
All right. I realized I didn't set up for the battles, but that's okay. I will do that on the fly somehow.
Actual battles or me?
No.
Okay.
Clever. Okay, I'm gonna
Oh my
tweet
goodness.
it right now. Yeah, your name didn't used to be thanks for the battles.
It was first like Thunderpaws, and then it was thanks for the battles.
Okay,
We don't talk about that, and now it's for the battles.
All right. Come join.
When I dimmed a lot, it was thanks for the battles, like thanks for the berries.
Oh shoot, Jake! I didn't think you were gonna come, so I I forgot to include your name on the thing.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay, I'll do it right now. Just realized that as I was creating this tweet. I'm gonna have to. All right, there you go. Featuring for the battles. And Jimmo Banks. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's see how many people have joined so far. We're about 30 people joined so far, so let's give it a few more moments. I just tweeted out, tagged you guys.
What's up, guys?
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the stream, guys.
Welcome.
Someone's asking, is Lapras good?
Yes.
Yes.
You should definitely not use Lapras when you're fighting me because he's bad.
Though, I think I definitely think we can see some cups where people will win pretty decent sized tournaments with no Lapras. It's very good. It's very good, but there's a pretty decent replacement.
You can definitely win without it.
You definitely can. There are replacements.
Yeah.
Celio, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good alternative. Is clearly more a villain. Ergo, not good. Okay.
If you don't have those legacy moves, you have options.
Yeah, no, for sure. There's definitely alternatives to it. And we'll talk about that as we go through it. Okay, we see Spark Spencer giving the little side eye. Maybe checking out Call Me Jake, sizing him up for LA. Oh yeah, you guys will all be in LA.
Hype.
You guys
we all will be in LA.
It's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be amazing.
The arrow saying what it do.
Arrow will be there as well.
Not sure what that means in Texas language.
It means what are you up to?
Which I think Charizard of Venusaur. We'll talk about like how some considerations around picking your starters. So I think like more people are gonna flow in. So we're just gonna start off with intros. Thank you everyone that's come joined our Timeless Cup meta discussion. Sorry for the stream being late. It was super busy and super chaotic. Today we have for the battles joining us, Call Me Jake and Jimma Banks. I'm gonna have each of them introduce themselves in case you haven't already checked them out, but you've already definitely should. They post a lot of really, really great content. I'm gonna have them introduce themselves, obviously give their in-game name, talk about where they're from, what team they're on, and then as well what Gen 8, what Sword and Shield Pokemon do they want in Pokemon Go for battling purposes. So we're going to start off appropriately with For the Battles. Go ahead, take it away.
What's up, guys? I am Kimberly For the Battles. I live in Northern California. I play most of the time near Sacramento, but I play a lot in San Francisco as well. I forgot the most of your questions because I was so focused on the Pokemon that I want. Because
so you recently did a team change, right?
I did. Oh, I was missing. I did. How could I forget?
Jim was gonna be upset. I don't think he knows this yet.
I do remember her doing the team change, but I definitely forgot.
I was Mystic for 3 years, and I switched to Instinct. So
We lost another Mystic member.
like guys, the personal.
Yeah,
I
that's
just like the message. I like the team, the foundation.
yeah. For the battles, you just want to join the same team as me, so let's just.
Also that.
Yeah. And anyways, sorry, what was your Pokemon that you want to?
The
bring in?
Gigantamax Butterfree.
Ooh, Specifically, would you want Gigantamax in PvP?
Well, you know what? Butterfree has never been useful in PvP. So
Ooh.
if a Butterfree is going to be useful, I'm thinking hopefully that one is the one.
Okay, maybe like 75 energy, double your HP.
Ooh, I'll take it.
Would you do that? Yeah, that's. I'm just speculating.
Calling it now.
How Gigantamax or Dynamo. Actually, I've watched some VGC doubles battles. I've only seen Dynamax so far. Actually, I haven't seen Well, I guess Gigantamax is like the raid boss. I don't know. Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. So, anyways, let's move on to Call Me Jake.
Yo, guys, I'm Jake. You can find me on YouTube at what he just said at Call Me Jake, and I'm from the East Coast. And for PvP, I would like to see from Gen 8. I would like to see the Pokemon Corviknight. It's a flying steel type, and it looks pretty awesome to me, and I would find it to be like a pretty epic Pokemon to have in PvP.
Well, we already know that steel flying is a pretty epic type. Like obviously Skarmory.
Yeah, like Skarmory.
But it looks pretty awesome. It's like a dark blue or like a black color.
Yeah, it looks pretty sick.
Yeah, it's like looks like a kind of a scarecrow type thing. Anyways, but bulkier. Yeah, definitely a really really great Pokemon. Hopefully we'll start seeing some of those Pokemon. All right, Jimma Banks.
What's up? Yeah, thanks for having me, Jimma Banks from Canada, and a lot of people think I live like down the street from King, but I don't live that close to King.
Just 3 blocks.
Yeah, just 3-hour blocks away. So I live 3 hours in Sarnia, Ontario. Big Team Mystic representative with Call Me Jake. But even though like I'm so for like Team Mystic, if you're happy on a team when you make a team change, that's okay. Whatever team you're on, it's no, yeah, exactly. And then like I might get laughed at a little bit because I'm having trouble. I'm on my second phone and I Googled Sword and Shield Pokemon, so this might not just be a new Gen 8 Pokemon. I'm hoping it is, but it's Greedent. It's this little chubby squirrel. I might not even have said it right, but
I don't know.
It will be like the super ferret. They just give it body slam hopefully, and he's just going to be this chunky little squirrel in Great League.
Okay,
Isn't it Gen 8? I hope.
I have no idea. Someone.
Yeah,
will...
it is.
Oh, I should have just played it cool. I don't know how to
What's
do
his
that.
typing? What's his typing? Normal?
Oh, King, this is too much. I'm here for timeless.
Jim...
He's going to have body slam. I just have this little picture of this chubby squirrel. It evolves from Scalvit, I think.
So it's evolved form. Okay, all right. And then for myself, I've been watching quite a bit. I've been watching Cybertron Zhang. He's the one that showcasted with Trainer Tips Nick at Pokemon Worlds, and he does a lot of VGC content. He does a lot of commentating, and he's getting back into the competitive scene. So I've been watching a lot of his doubles battles, and he's been using Dragon Bolt. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but I'm not sure it's going to be good at all in Great League. But really interesting typing. Dragon Ghost. So some and has some like pretty crazy moves when it Dynamaxes. So I think it's be pretty cool. Anyways, enough of Gen 8. Gen 8. One of the restrictions for the Timeless Cup meta, but let's go over the other restrictions. So Timeless Cup brings you back to similar to when you were playing any of your Force 4 generation Pokemon games in the main series, where you have to go back and pick your starter. But similar to those games, like your starter can be your most important Pokemon, but oftentimes if you're playing it competitively, is often not your most competitive, most important Pokemon for your team. And then as well, you have to pick 5 other Pokemon from Gen 1 to 4. And then there's restrictions around fighting, normal, fairy, flying, steel, and psychic. And as well, no Alolan, no Unova, no Galarian, and as well, no legendaries, mythicals, and then no Sableye, and no Umbreon. Those Pokemon have already got a ton of hype. I think we're all, even though I love Umbreon, we're all kind of sick of using Umbreon and
Seen enough Umbreon for a while.
for at least for a little bit.
Cup.
Before we dive into this meta discussion, which was created by Game Press, so shout out to them. Thank you, Lorma. 93, I think that's the trainer's name that created this document, or 96 it says on the document, for creating this document. But tell me your guys' thoughts on the Timeless Cup when you first heard it drop. And you guys can.
I was hyped when it dropped. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, you're good. Go.
Just feels like Rainbow 2.0, like a little bit more Pokemon.
Agreed.
And
it definitely has definitely has a lot of those flavors. You know, the grass, the water, Charizard still being in use and whatnot. Okay, any other thoughts for the battles?
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was saying your name.
I thought you meant anybody. Just go for it, Gemma. Please.
No. I said for the battles.
I said
for the
thought
battles.
It was good for the battles.
Yeah. You're good. I was interested to see Ice play more of a role than it's played in past cups, just because we do see so much dragon and also definitely the rainbow feelings of rainbow, feelings of a little bit back to Tempest, just a cup that is based on who the starter is and not based on who the starter is. That the cup is we're going to see teams that are made of so many different Pokemon that I don't think we're going to see like what we did in Sinister and Ferocious, where everybody kind of had, there's like 12 Pokemon to pick from, and that's basically what you're going to see. I think we're going to see a lot more variation in this cup.
Yeah, no, definitely quite a few strategies, and then with Steel and Fairy Band, that definitely makes Dragon largely unresisted, and that makes Ice that much more important.
I believe in Empoleon.
Oh, Empoleon. Oh, yeah, Empoleon.
The only one.
The only one. Yeah. There you go. Pick Empoleon for the battles.
Yes, when you battle, pick Empoleon as your starter, please.
Call me Jake. Any additional thoughts?
Yeah, when I first heard about this cup drop, I knew that all the teams could only have one starter, so I really enjoyed the aspect of having a team like built around that starter. And I think in tournaments we're going to see a lot of those teams play out. Like I feel like we're going to see a lot of like different teams in comps around like these different starters.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to walk through this meta discussion again, provided by Game Press. The 2 Pokemon that largely centralize this meta, and because of their unique typing and move pools, and for one of them their bulkiness, Dragonair and Lapras have a very high win percentage against most of the meta, and they're able to hit and do a lot of damage even in really, really bad matchups. But in addition to that meta, and the reason why they are so good is that there's some Pokemon that check Lapras, such as the grass types, especially Razor Leafers do quite well against Lapras. So we'll see a category on the bottom left, grouping all the grass type Pokemon, and then to the right of that, which also have like a back and forth matchup. At least some of them are the water types, which include the Mudboys and the Pseudo Mudboy and Blastoise. And then and to check the grass types, we have the anti-grass, which is made up of Pokemon such as Sunny Castform, Charizard, Ninetales, Skuntank, and Venomoth. But in this cup, you do have to pick a starter. So which starter, or if you had to pick one starter today, you had a tournament in right after this meta discussion, which starter would it be? And then we can kind of build upon your team as we go through each of the categories. Whoever wants to start.
Swampert.
Swampert. Okay. All right. And why Swampert?
Well, because I've already practiced with it a ton, and I really like the Hydro Cannon pressure, and with the Earthquake being able to nearly one shot almost everything in the meta, besides a few like Lapras, like the other like water types I believe can survive it for the most part, but against a lot of these grass types, it's gonna almost one shot almost all of them except like the pure grass.
All right, perfect. For the battles,
I guess I'd probably have to go with Meganium.
Ooh, okay.
And, I'm going to say Meganium because, just as what I said earlier, ice being a dominant force, and you're basically going to have ice on your team because of the dragons. I feel the Lapras matchup with Meganium is something that you just don't get with Venusaur, because Lapras or Meganium can get 3 frenzy plants, where Venusaur is gonna faint to the ice shards before that. So I like Meganium for that. Although you do give up, like it's like, do you want to beat Lapras or do you want to not die to Venusaur? So it's like a give and take. But I guess Meganium, just because. And then you got that option to nuke the Skuntank, the Drapion, the Venomoth with the Earthquake. So I guess I'd have to say Meganium today.
Yeah, no, Meganium. Actually saw I'm sure you guys saw the infographic provided by Swag Tips about the starters. I actually really agreed on. I just read it. I just read it, right? Like as I was walking to get some coffee, right? And I was like, oh, this is like pretty on point. Meganium, I feel like has really great matchups against everything, but like has maybe the best matchup against the rest of the non-starters, right? It's able to have good matchups against Lapras, be able to beat it. Has good matchups against Dragonair. That Earthquake just nukes a lot of the fire and poison types, and et cetera, et cetera. But it has difficult matchups against the other starters. For example, if it gets locked in against Charizard, it really doesn't have any play against Charizard, losing to Venusaur. So it's a really interesting balance for Meganium. But I thought that if you guys haven't checked out Swag Tips already on at least that tweet, and definitely give him a follow. Really great content creator. Really on point graphic. Though
he's doing really well with season 2, his tournaments. Like I've been paying attention to how he's been playing. He's been doing really well.
Well, he's a very good player. So, Gemma, we're turning over to you.
Yeah.
Which starter are you going with?
So Venusaur, just because I have the most practice with it, I like what For the Battles just said about Meganium. Actually, almost just like instantly convinced me. And then like Swampert's awesome too. But I just like I like Venusaur, and then it's good. It could do the same as Meganium in the sense of like it does well versus Victory Bell. Seems like if a lot of people aren't running a grass starter, they've got Victory Bell. So I just like its matchups. I like Venusaur right now.
All right, perfect. So for myself, at least what I've been playing around with so far has been Blaziken.
That Blaziken,
and most of the time, because people don't think I'm gonna bring in my Blaziken, because it's so squishy, it's so vulnerable with shield down. But when you lock in, when you have one shield and you lock in against someone's Lapras, feels good, right? Or you lock in their Celio.
Feels good, man. Feels good, man.
or you blast burn somebody. Does an absolute ton of damage, and most of that is because I'm so scared of running a Mud Boys, just because of the switching being so clunky right now.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of like half my health getting deleted. So Call Me Jake's a much braver trainer than I am. And then as well for my grass types, as Jim has noted, I really like running Victory Bell. And Victory Bell is at least the reason why I don't pick grass as a starter. Okay, but let's start at the top of the meta document, which is around Dragonair. When I first took a look at this meta, I instantly am like, wow, like they're banning Steel and Fairy. Dragonair is absolutely going to be really amazing. So you guys want to talk about why Dragonair is so good?
I think Dragonair. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jake.
No, you go.
No, for the battles, you won the CMP tie on this one. So, way to go to you.
I think Dragonair works as either it works as a good lead, and it almost can work as a swap. It depends on the rest of your team setup, but I like the different options. There's even options to like you can have it as a nice closer with the Dragon Pulse, or you can go with the purified version with the return, or you can try to trick people and have Dragon Pulse on your purified version. And so it's just there's a lot of different strategies with Dragonair, and just being such a great generalist.
Jimmo, do you have anything to add
Yeah,
to that?
it just does well against the starters, and it's just quick move. Just does a lot of work to a lot of the Pokemon, if not all the Pokemon. It's really good overall.
Call me Jake. Anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with what Kim and Gemma said about the damage from the fast move Dragon Breath. It's insane. And I also like Dragonair as a lead and as a switch in, because with that with like the Aqua Tail and the purified move, it allows it to be like a little bit of a spammy Pokemon. Even if, say, like a Celio comes in, it's going to do like a decent amount of damage with that return.
Yeah. No, first time I remember someone switched into Dragonair, and I'm like, okay, I'll just come in with my Lapras. I shut it down. Then I realized, like, wow, this is absolutely doing actually a ton of damage.
That's a close matchup.
And if they land the unshielded Dragon Pulse, unless you are able self piggyback on the surf, I think you actually end up losing. Anyways, they end up shielding or whatever, right? And they end up getting fainted down and losing switch advantage, which can be really deceiving. And I've certainly been hit by a Dragon Pulse from a purified Dragonair, so it's definitely pretty deceiving. So, but
I won't expect it.
What are you guys' thoughts around the moveset? So obviously, I think Dragon Breath and Aqua Tail are kind of a lock for the most part, unless I'm sure some people will have some tricky strats. What are your thoughts around? Again, I want to preface this like normal type moves versus Dragon Pulse, and we can talk a little bit about Wrap versus Return, but let's just categorize that right now: normal type moves or Dragon Pulse.
Well, it depends. Do you want to win the mirror, or do you want to have a chance to be a closer? The purified version with, or the, I don't know. I think Wrap
in Return actually do like about the same in terms of performance. There's like a few matches that are slightly different, but for the most part, they actually perform pretty similarly. So
I'm used to losing the mirror if I don't have a normal type move. So it depends on, do you want to lose the mirror, or do you want to have or win the mirror? Do you want to have? I personally, at the moment, like Dragon Pulse. Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah. Gemma,
I'm glad you asked that, actually, because I was going to ask the same about Dragon Pulse and who's running it. Right now, I just have the Aqua Tail and the return on my Dragonair, but obviously Dragon Pulse it just can surprise you, right? So right now I'm just running return and Aqua Tail, but I was hoping you guys would convince me to maybe TM return and go Dragon Pulse. And I'm glad you said out loud, King, that you said it's a lock to always have Aqua Tail.
Yeah, I would be surprised if you didn't. I would say like you probably need Aqua Tail for the most part, especially against the flyer, the anti grass category. I mean, and then against the mud boys, I think it's like pretty important to have it. It's not like to use it as a bait is like certainly an option. But the thing is like there's not a ton of matchups where you need to bait Aquatail and hit another one because Dragonair is not necessarily the tankiest Pokemon. I'm sure there are some matchups with Dragon Pulse where it'd be, especially if you have energy advantage, where you can bait then go for the Dragon Pulse. But that's a lot of Dragon Breaths to be able to land. And Aquatail, which is 35 energy, and Dragon Pulse is what, 60 energy, I believe. Yeah, I think it's the same as Outrage.
So you're basically getting one chance at your one Dragon Pulse.
Yeah.
In most cases, I guess.
That might be the reason why I like Dragon Pulses, because I feel like a lot of times you are only getting one chance at something. And
for sure. And that's definitely.
So then you're either getting your opponent's shield or doing a lot of damage. That's interesting. I'm glad you guys. That was a good talk.
And I've certainly been locked in some and because it's so squishy. Yes, it has like positive matchups against the starters, but it's because it's so squishy. Like, if you get hit by an Earthquake, or you get hit by 2 Frenzy Plants, or even like 2 Hydro Cannons, even though they're resisted, it still does like a ton of damage. And there's definitely been times where I've been like end of the match, and like I need to close with my Dragonair because of how all the switching occurred and losing the lead or whatever, and like Return just doesn't do enough, or Aquatail just doesn't do enough, and I end up getting fainted down. So certainly a strong consideration. But I do recommend that if you're gonna, whatever moveset you're running, that I recommend at least that you run a purified version, just so you don't show your hand, and it can be can be a little tricky.
I like it.
And once you TM Return, it's gone, right?
Yeah. And a lot of people were saying like, and which is true in a lot of cases, people are like, oh, but your IVs are not going to be as good. But when's the last time anyone's caught a Dratini out in the wild? Like, it's pretty rare. So I don't think you're giving up a ton. Obviously, if you have a rank 1 Dragonair and you have a rank 3000 purified one, yeah, you should definitely run some sims, check the matchups, see where you're giving up, especially when because it's so squishy that an opposing Pokemon that you would normally beat might have a break point or whichever against you. So, but for the most part, I recommend that you do that. And then let's move on to the Pokemon that is probably most designed to counter it, which is Lapras. So you guys want to tell me why Lapras is good, or would you?
Lapras is a tanky beast, and Lapras has Ice Shard, which is gonna get those turfs off pretty quickly, and it plays a role in this cup as one of your best dragon counters for sure. And then because it's a water type, because it's an ice type, it's also going to be able to put a massive fight against its own counters. And it's just it's with Skull Bash, it's got an option for a nuke as well. And so I like Lapras.
Yeah, no, for sure. That Skull Bash, when and I'm always gonna tell the story, because when Skull Bash was first released, and people were like trashing it, like who's gonna use a 75 energy normal type move, etc., and what the defense buff, and I was always saying, well, it might be pretty decent on Lapras, and in every cup it's been available. It's especially in this meta. Skull Bash can certainly do a ton of damage. Gemma, I know you were playing around with an Ice Beam Lapras.
Yeah, mostly because I didn't want to play the charge TM game, right? That everyone doesn't want.
Yeah, okay.
So I messed around, and I thought it's funny you brought the Skull Bash as well, because I was just thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, no one's ever going to get a Skull Bash off. But for a while, or for the most part, it seems like everyone is running Surf Skull Bash. So me having the Ice Beam, I definitely have thrown a lot of people off by using Ice Beam, and then like I was having some success where I almost was like, is it even better than Skull Bash? I'm not prepared to say that. Again, with the amount of skilled battlers using Skull Bash, I would say it's pretty good to go surf Skull Bash, but Ice Beam's interesting just because of all the different Pokemon you can potentially just nuke
What have you
faster.
what have you nuked with Ice Beam?
Well,
That
of course, the
someone
Dragonair, but I guess the flip side of that is Skull Bash would basically do quite a bit of work to a Dragonair as well. But I think it's way less energy, or it's definitely less energy. I
it's
think
20
Ice
less.
Beam's
20
20
less.
less, right?
Yeah,
So,
2 ice shards.
um, what
I could
else have I
see
nuked?
not
A
blocking
Venusaur,
that.
obviously. Venusaur.
Oh yeah, if
So,
someone doesn't block, sometimes they don't like blocking. Well, I actually find most people block the first charge move, and that kind of makes sense to always block the first one, in
thinking it's
case
the Skull Bash.
if it's a skull bash, right?
Okay.
Normally it would KO you, right? If it ends up just being a surf, the next charge move is going to be surf anyways. So not a ton of concern shielding one, but I'm sure there's definitely some matchups where you might. I'm trying to think, just because like there's not because steel types are banned.
hmm
I guess there's some. I'm trying to think of what you would. What would you skull bash? That would no. What would you ice beam? That.
No, like, uh,
So because you're having at least that much trouble thinking of that many matchups, that's probably proves why most people are going with
a
the
ghost.
Skull Bash.
Yeah, I'm trying to
Yeah.
think of something where because steel's banned.
hmm
Um, uh, no, I don't know. Steel. I don't know, but I'm sure there's something that that would uh that would take it
You're
out.
saying now that I've got the 10 charged TMs,
Yeah.
play the Lapras roulette and just get Skull Bash.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, Jake, what do you think of Lapras? Well, here's a question for you, Jake.
Yeah.
Could you run a team without Lapras?
Yes, you could. For example, I'm running a team without
Oh,
Lapras.
okay. All right. And what are your alternatives to Lapras?
Um, I'm running the Slammer. The yeah.
The
Um,
Mustache Mysterio, Celio.
yes, the Celio.
And then
Um,
what are you finding that you're gaining with Celio, and what do you think some of the things that you might be losing out with Celio?
well, the thing is with Celia with the body slam against Lapras, it's pretty close. I've been in a lot of matchups against Lapras that I'm able to win if I can just like if I'm able to block like the correct move, like the Skull Bash for example. And then against a lot of like its counters like the grass types, I've realized that body slam has like that pressure because it's that spammy and it's either going to it like say it's against a Razor Leaf, right? Like a Victory Bell. I've been in a matchup where I'm able to just use the body slam and either end up um, KOing the Razor Leaf or I am able to have a shield from it. And along with that, the body slam damage across the meta is just is good. I'd say it's really good.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty interesting contrast between Lapras and Celio. Is that Razor Leafers with shields up still generally beat both Celio and Lapras, but it's very interesting to see that Celio has a slightly better matchup against Razor Leafers because it's able to get to the Aurora Beam if it needs to, or especially if it switches in, and then they're counter switching, so you have a little bit of energy advantage, and as well it's able to hit a move with neutral damage that does a lot of damage to Razor Leafers, and most of them are fairly squishy, while it then also subsequently gives up some of the matchups against like Venusaur, for example, where it's not able to necessarily beat out Venusaur like Lapras is in the two shield matchup. So it's
Yeah.
pretty interesting contrast the two. And then Celio, for the most part, as you pointed out, is able to beat the Lapras unless there's like a pretty big difference in their stat product rank. Then a Lapras could win the one shield, but I don't see too many instances where a Lapras can win the two shield even with double baiting. Okay. All right. And then any other movesets that people should consider, or is it pretty locked down? Ice Shard, Surf, and Skull Bash.
You guys have convinced me for sure. I was wondering if you guys would bring up the Dragon Pulse, the legacy one, but doesn't
Yeah, I
sound
mean,
like sounds like it'd just be Skull Bash Surf still.
It's definitely a consideration, but I don't think you
really need it.
really need it. And then as well, your IVs are usually pretty poor with it. And then just getting that defense buff is pretty dangerous. And I've been on sides where I play the Lapras mirror match, and I'm like, oh, they're baiting me, and they hit me with a Skull Bash, and they double shield their Lapras, and they have like 3 Skull Bashes. They're like 3 times defense raised, and I don't have like a Razor Leafer or like a Blaziken, for example, and then it just feels like so devastating as it just like plowing through your Pokemon.
That was very good.
And I certainly, I tried to like sim around, like, can you get away with like some situations you might run, like you could do, you might, and I actually played around this with Celio, trying to run some sims. I'm like, could you get away with like a water gun Celio and then win that mirror match against Celio or whatnot? But anyways, for the most part, that moveset is pretty locked in. It's just such a good moveset.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's move on to the next thing on the water themes. Let's go down to the water category. Which of the water types are you liking? So,
Which cash? Couldn't wait to just interrupt.
Call me Jake. I know you're running Swampert. Are you running any other water types?
No, but I've tried a strategy with 2 of them, but I don't think it's worth it.
Double Mud Boys. I've seen that.
Yeah.
You tried to play that against me. It was
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God.
And then Gemma. Why do you like Wishcash?
I just like the spamming of Mud Bomb, and then
why Wishcash over Quagsire is what mathematicians.
That's a good question. I do like I've been very concerned about what Quagsire could do to me or like do to my team, right? So I just like Wishcash because I just have a really good IV of them, like my Wishcash, and I just like spamminess. So I was just thinking like spammy Body Slam and spammy Mud Bomb potentially, but I'd be interested. Has anyone here run Quagsire and had success with Quagsire? Because that's definitely one of the ones that I'm concerned about.
Not in this cup.
Mm-mm.
No.
I've run it in I think one of my test battles. It's just that I'm not like a great Quagsire user, and I'm not even necessarily sure what the best moveset is. I think that might be slightly up for debate. I think Stone Edge, almost for sure, for the Lapras matchup. But even then, you end up losing the matchup is still in 2 shields. But I think if you run Acid Spray Stone Edge, you land the Acid Spray bait, then you're able to flip the 1 shield matchup. But I just find like as a Mud Boy, because the charge moves are more expensive than Wishcash or Swampert, it just doesn't feel as spammy.
Yeah, and then I like the Blizzard potential against Dragonair. And then I was just like really overthinking. I'm like, do I even need to go for Blizzard? Like, can I just do 3 Mud Bombs or hope that I get a shield by using a Mud Bomb instead of going for the Blizzard, but still charging up enough like energy for the Blizzard? I was having trouble really figuring like what the best scenario is, because it felt like I led Wishcash a lot and I would run into Dragonair a lot, and I feel like I could always safely get 2 Blizzards off.
Yep.
If they shielded once. I mean, I would have to use a shield against an Aqua Tail, but it felt like I could always get to 2 blizzards. So just it felt like a safe lead. Of course, you always have to watch out for Victory Bell and the grass starters, but I just enjoyed Wish Cash a lot, and I didn't mind it in the matchup against Swampert. Like Swampert's better in the mirror match, or excuse me, like Wish Cash versus Swampert, but it wasn't as bad as I thought. So I just like Wish Cash overall.
Yeah, it's very spammy. Has some like really good bulk
Mm-hmm.
when compared to the Swampert, for example. And I think that's one of the reasons why I think initially when this meta dropped, a lot of people thought that a lot of people were going to run Swampert, and Swampert's really great. And it's an amazing Pokemon, but Wish Cash is out of all the starters. Well, I guess besides all the starters, and when comparing it to a non-starter Pokemon, Swampert might have like the closest Pokemon matchup, like substitute.
And when Swampert first came out too, it felt like it just kind of pushed Wishcast aside, right? It's like, yo, like I'm the King Mud Boy. So for this cup, and again, like you said, Swampert's a really, really good pick for your starter. I don't think you could say someone's going wrong with the Swampert, but I just like Wishcash's place in this meta.
Yeah, no, definitely. For the battles, what do you like from this category?
I do like Whiscash as well. That's probably what I would have said first. But there's a couple picks that are definitely interesting in that because again, going back to the ice types being so dominant, you've got a couple picks in Relicanth and a spicy pick in Ammonite. Ammonite has got access to Mudshot and Ancient Power, which is just ridiculously fast Ancient Powers, and then you've also got Bubble Beam, which is going to be an attack lowering boost or nerf, and then you can bait it. So I think it's a really interesting little Pokemon, and then but it's kind of squishy. It's pretty squishy. Its HP it doesn't break 100 unless you got, I don't know. I have like a really good ranked one. It doesn't break 100, so it's like
if you go max stat product, it's 99.
It's 99. Okay, mine's 98. But it's pretty bad.
Yeah,
but you're gonna get so many Ancient Powers
and Bubble Beam, right?
And Bubble Beam, like sometimes you can just like finish off with a Bubble Beam on the next Pokemon. It's nice, and it's gonna resist the Skull Bash. It doesn't take Surf very well though, so that's kind of an issue. And then that was why I'm looking into Relicanth as well, because Relicanth is a little tankier, but it's got like 2 double weaknesses, and you're gonna it's got a lot of weaknesses. So it's like I don't know. I'm not sure about it yet, but it's nice. I like it. I like it. It is on my practice team right now.
Yeah,
really.
And you can you'll be surprised like how much Ancient Power does to Lapras. Like an absolute ton, right? You feel especially from and Celio, yeah, takes that smile right off Celio's face. Like it's all of a sudden worried. Then, but yeah, Ammonite. How about Amistar?
Maybe if you have
no Bubble Beam though, but if you have Legacy, you might be able to hit with a harder Rock Slide, which allows you to flip. I forget which matchup it allows you to flip if you have Rock Slide instead of Ancient Power. It allows you to pick up like when you look at the One Shield matchup, Rock Slide Ancient Power allows you to pick up like 8 or 9 more matches in the One Shield, but no chance for the boost.
No chance for the boost. You like the boost. You don't want to rely on the boost, but it can be nice. And I feel like, okay, this might be a total rumor. I have no idea. I didn't want to ask and look up.
Go for it.
Is it true that the Ancient Power boost is like slightly higher than, say, a different 10% chance boost? Is that
like a Silverwind?
No. Yeah. Like you talking about the 2-stage boost or the chances of a boost?
Like the chance of a boost. Like, isn't it just 10%? Like the attack.
Yeah, it's only 10%. 10%.
It's only 10%. It's not any higher with Relicanth than it is with like Silverwind.
No. But I've seen. I've kind of got indoctrinated in my head. One from watching Matt Suarez run through the World Championships and him getting how many Ancient Power boosts I saw.
He got a lot of boosts.
And then as well, I recently shoutcasted a Masters tournament from Darkest David, where like I think he got like Like he got double boosted twice in like
I think
one.
there's merit.
Oh, dude, I was watching that.
I was
That
like,
was
this.
insane.
I'm like, this is not fair. He
There's
swapped in.
merit.
What was he
So
running though?
He run a Mew. A Mew.
I
Oh,
mean,
Mew.
And the thing is, like,
Oh my
okay,
gosh.
okay,
Wow.
okay, I get it. Like Mudshot with a boost, okay, not that big a deal. Man, you have Shadow Claw or Water Gun with a
Oh my
boost. It's like it's totally unfair.
Oh
It's totally
wow.
unfair, right? It's like, what the heck? You're doing.
That's another reason I do like Relicanth is because of that water gun. Because it doesn't. I mean, it's going to be weak to counter, but you sometimes you're going to need the. It does better with Blaziken.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. It must be Blaziken, right? Yeah, it must be. Well, it double resists the fire types, right? And all that
Yeah,
stuff. But yeah.
Blaziken goes down.
But yeah, a boost with the on the water guns or the Mudshot definitely have more meaning and can have such like oppressive damage, and especially yeah. Anyways, like a very very good pick. How about have any of you seen like there's some other like spicy picks even in the water group, Polytoad and Melodic.
ooh,
Ooh,
yeah, Polytoad
Battled a
is so
lot.
spammy.
Okay, so
I've battled a lot against Polytoad.
and it was that
Same.
B has.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone here has battled Behaz and his
Yeah.
Polytoad.
Of course I have, dude. He's my teammate.
Right?
Shout out to Team Enven.
Team Advent Hype.
But yeah, it seems good, right? Polytoad. I was gonna ask, and I know you're asking us already. Melodic, how is it? Is it worth it?
Well, I went up against Matty F Baby, and it really caught me off guard because I was like, I saw the melodic. I think I had like Dragonair, and I was like melodic. And I was like, okay, I got this. Waterfall, and then also hitting me with Dragon Tail, and Dragon Tail like a pretty decent energy generation move. Able to get to surf after it's. I think it's the exact same stats as Ice Shard, I believe. And then able to get to surf after 4 Dragon Tails. I just don't know if it really has like a really good second move, Hyper Beam or Blizzard.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
You land a
I can
Hyper
see that
Beam on
taking a
somebody.
lot.
Yeah.
I guess
Yeah. I've said before that if you win a 5+ round tournament and in the championship closing match, you win with a Hyper Beam, I'll add you as a friend.
you're
Right.
like.
I've heard you say that before.
Yeah.
So it's safe to say, so Niantic could do Melodic a lot of help by just maybe giving it a charge move, maybe.
Yeah, it could give a better charge move. I don't know what charge move it would necessarily
Give a bubble beam.
Bubble Beam. Oh man, any Pokemon that give Bubble Beam is just so spammy. Yeah, it would do pretty decent with Bubble Beam. I'm not sure what else would allow it to be all right. Well, Melodic certainly can have a play and has like decent stats, like almost like when you max it out, it has over 2,000 stat product, which is pretty decent especially when compared to this meta. That's similar to like Meganium, I think. Yeah, very similar to Meganium in terms of bulkiness. Actually, a little bit better, a little bit less tanky than Meganium. So, but Polytoad with that Mudshot, Earthquake, Surf, no double weakness, and then as well resisting Ice Shard as opposed to taking neutral damage from it is again all. I think it has the exact same stats as Poliwrath as well. I believe. Could be wrong. Let's see.
Oh,
No. It has very similar stats. Not it actually is slightly bulkier than Poliwrath. So, which actually a little bit. Oh yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit bulkier than Poliwrath, and Poliwrath is so it has like some pretty decent bulk, similar to Meganium.
Should
So,
work as a team and find me someone to trade me like multiple Relicanth.
Yeah.
It's
And
not a
then
new ad. Like, give them all to me, everyone.
Relicanth is a really again really interesting pick. Okay, let's move on to the Pokemon that counter that group, which is the grass types.
Okay.
So I know you guys talked about Venusaur, Meganium. Call me Jake. I'm presuming that you're running a grass type.
Yeah, Razor Leafer.
Which one are you liking?
I like Well, I haven't tried like the water dancing guy,
Ludicolo.
Ludicolo.
Ludicolo, but yeah, like the other two, like Gloom and the other one, I've tried both, and I like them.
With Return Gloom, you've tried?
No, I haven't tried it with Return.
Okay.
No.
But okay, because Gloom's interesting. Gloom is interesting on the rankings, and if we mentioned earlier, if they're not running one of Venusaur or Meganium, it feels like everyone's go-to is Victory Bell right now.
Yeah,
right.
That's my favorite so far in the meta.
And it does great, but Ludicolo is interesting, or it was when I first ran into it. You can always appreciate someone like off Meta Man Toshi to use something like that, and it doesn't take super effective from Lapras's ice moves, so it does well with that Razor Leaf. But it just seems like everyone's going Victory Bell.
Yeah, Ludicolo definitely hard counters Lapras. It's gonna be able to take neutral from the ice shards, as you pointed out, and then as well double resist Surf. So like you almost have to go for the Skull Bash, but by the time you get to the Skull Bash, you're almost left with no HP left, or it KOs you. So can be a pretty decent pick. But the thing is with it, because of its water typing, it also makes it weak against the opposing grass types, but does have Ice Beam to be able to nuke and do a lot of damage.
We just know, okay, that's good. That was going to answer the question I was going to ask. Because, it just takes forever, obviously, for Razor Leafers to get to their charge move, right? So you won't even, not that often, get charge moves on some of them, right?
Yeah. But I find, like, sometimes you panic. You panic switch because you see a Razor Leafer and, like, you're like, I got to get out of there as soon as possible because it's doing so much damage. And then, at least for me, I sometimes lose track of how many fast moves they've done. It can be a little bit deceptive. What charge moves are you guys considering for Victory Bell? I think most people like Leaf Blade, and I think that's like kind of like it's a very good move, extremely energy efficient. It's gonna have stab damage, but you could also run Acid Spray. You could run Sludge Bomb. I've seen someone run. I heard some people talk about running Sludge Bomb and Acid Spray together to kind of like throw off your opponent. Like if you acid spray them in round one, right, and they think like, oh, you must have Leaf Blade or Acid Spray, so they're not going to shield. The next time, for example, they get locked in Venusaur versus Victory Bell, they might not shield, and if Venusaur takes a Sludge Bomb, that's certainly a play. It can be kind of risky because that Leaf Blade is sometimes the only move that you can get to. Especially when you're locked in against, like, for example, a Dragonair, where it's doing a ton of damage to you. So certainly, or if you're really really daring and you want to gamble, you could run Leaf Tornado. Don't run Leaf Tornado. Actually, I was down in Argentina, and they were like, "This is regionals," and I couldn't fully understand them because like. They obviously fluent in Spanish and fluent in English. We're not fluent in each other's language. I thought someone told me that they were running Acid Spray Leaf Tornado on their Victory Bell. I was like, wow, you're going all out on trying to make these Pokemon as useless as possible. Like you're like Razor Leaf does enough damage, but it was two different people. So, but one other Pokemon I think a lot of people are not necessarily considering, and Kim, you had some experience this in your draft tournament, was Return Gloom.
Return Gloom for sure.
Tell me about Return Gloom, at least facing it.
Return Gloom can put in work against Skuntank.
It's very surprising.
What the heck, man? It just goes right through it. Is this happening right now? Yeah, so Return Gloom can definitely be a problem, and it's tanky, and it like you have to shield like stupid stuff. You're like,
yeah.
What am I return? It works. I don't actually like Razor Leafers, to be honest. I started PvP and I really liked Razor Leaf, and over time I just have really fallen away from Razor Leaf as a move. But it isn't. But like if I was gonna use Razor Leaf, I think this is definitely what I would use. I think I would go for Gloom.
It does win the matchups against the opposing Razor Leafers because of the return, and yeah, it gets to a return pretty quickly and be able to hit neutral damage is, and again, it's one of the few Razor Leafers that can go toe to toe with Skunk Tank when shields are up. Like it's very very surprising.
When
Very,
shields are up too, shield like I had to shield stuff, and then another weird Pokemon. Have you guys fought the plant cloak Wormadam, because it could be annoying.
No, I have not.
No.
I have I have on stream Wormadam Plant. So tell me about Wormadam Plant.
Oh, you need to make sure that you have poison or fire on your team, or like you're gonna die. Like you have to make sure you have one of those on your team, because if you run into a team with the plant cloak Wormadam, like it's not gonna go down to other stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Being double weak to poison and to fire, right?
I believe so. Yeah, no, poison doesn't.
Or single.
Yes.
Okay,
It
all right.
should kill bugs, but it doesn't kill bugs. Single.
Okay, yeah. That typing matrix. Yeah, I'm not very familiar with.
I had to ask somebody that question like 3 days ago, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Poison should kill bugs. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
But it does.
that would be the most logical thing. But okay, yeah, no, a pretty interesting pick. Why don't we move on to the next category, which is going to be the ones that deal with the grass types, which are the fire types, the part of the anti-grass types, which are the fire types and the poison types. Which one of these are you liking? Which ones are you running? Which have you seen people use pretty well?
I'm very concerned about Charizard. Like, I don't use Charizard. It's maybe something I'll try, but like, I'm just really worried. It just it's concerning with me running, a Venomoth or a Venusaur, right? Just kind of Blast Burn hits so hard, just kind of in the way. It's kind of annoying.
Okay, Jake.
Yeah. I've played against a few Charizards, and that like the bait with Dragonclaw is really good. And obviously like the Blast Burn is really good, but a lot of times I use like my dragons to counter these fire types and like the Moth, the Skunk Tank, and stuff like that.
I really like Venomoth for this cup. If we're talking about that.
You, Kim?
Oh, yes, I'm gonna have to go back to Skunk Tank. Skunk Tank. Every time Skunk Tank is eligible for something, I put it on my team. So I like it. I like it for its ability to be used as a swap and its ability to just kind of be what it's supposed to be. It kind of beats everything a little bit and gets beat by everything a little bit, and that's why it's kind of like you can play it. You can kind of decide how you want to play the match, having a Skunk Tank on your team. And then just over the past couple of days, I was trying out a Ninetales just because a couple different teams I was running into. I have because I was going with Meganium, I was a little bit weaker to Venusaur overall. So I've been trying out Ninetales, and it's not bad. It's not bad, especially against like Celio. It does pretty well, and
I didn't realize it has a decent matchup against Celio.
It's not bad because it's going to be resisting the ice, and then the body slam, it doesn't do that much. So, and then the fire damage is going to be neutral to the Celio.
Oh wow, yeah, you're right. Wins the 1 and the 2 shield. Interesting. And you don't even need
you don't need the legacy.
You don't need the legacy for. Do you need it for the 1 shield?
I don't.
You need it for the 1 shield.
For 1 shield. Okay.
But you win the 2 shield. Interesting.
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting.
Oh, interesting. You win the. Oh, okay. That's sometimes PvPoke does like some weird stuff. Like, for example, if you have Flamethrower Psyshock, it shows you Celio winning the 0 shield, but it's actually better to go double Psyshock, and you actually end up winning the 0 shield. So sometimes if you have Psyshock Flamethrower, then you can win the 0, the 1, and the 2 against
Nice.
Celio.
Very nice.
But you have to play them slightly differently. So like in the 2, it's straight Psyshock. In the 0, it's straight Psyshock, and in the 1, it's Psyshock bait Flamethrower.
Okay.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting. I'm sure there's some. Okay, interesting.
And it just beats what it's supposed to beat.
Yeah, it has some pretty decent matchups. Gemma, what are you liking?
I like Venomoth. Venomoth is fun, just like with the Silverwind chance and with so many victory bells and potential Venusaurs. It just I like it. Potential.
Yeah,
Silverwind
no, I think
boost.
it's always a staple. Are you running Poison Fang on yours?
Yeah, I do. I have a Legacy Poison Fang. I don't have the Return can also do okay as well.
Yeah,
I'm
I did
hearing
some analysis last night. I do think Poison Fang is the best move, but Return is not too big of a drop off from Poison Fang. So it can certainly still do some work and do some damage.
Yeah, the 10% chance from the boost, like it actually won me 2 games. Like I felt like they would have been losses if I did, and I got the boost. So just giving me more opportunity for potential wins if I play it right.
Yeah, you get the
lucky.
boost, and then that confusion damage can do a ton of work. I personally, I don't know if I will, but I've played around and scrimmed with Sunny Castform. It's
sneaky.
Extremely spammy. It's like 6 embers to a Weather Ball, and Weather Ball is a Body Slam clone. So it's able to do pretty well against. It actually has a pretty neutral matchup against Lapras, and when you land a Solar Beam on a water type, feels great.
Yeah, I bet it does.
It's great, definitely. When I was scrimming, one time anyways, I had a shield up. I saw Lapras, no shield left. I just okay, I'm just gonna go for the Solar Beam, and you Solar Beam somebody and just completely nukes them and
highlight of the night.
But it does mean that when you're going up against Charizard, for example, you don't really have much of a play. And you actually have a positive matchup against Celio because Weather Ball is a clone of Body Slam, but you get Stab on it, and as well you're resisting the Powder Snow. You're doing neutral damage. Unless that Celio is running Water Pulse, which is certainly possible, then you don't really have too much concern. It has some decent bulk as well.
When you say clone, like you can get them off just as fast or the same? Same?
I mean same energy, same damage.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I mean by I've been saying clone so many times, Gemma, and
I just want to make sure. Right? I always it's fun to come to these, but I actually learn.
Yeah, no.
I want to run Dragon Pulse on my Dragonair now.
Yeah, no, it's very, 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 very spammy. Okay. Any other considerations, thoughts around this some of the alternative poison types, which we'll talk about a little bit later as well, are things like Drapion. I think there was a lot of hype around Ice Fang Drapion. Are you guys
seeing? It's pretty awesome.
He's like, it's pretty awesome, and I'm like, I don't like it. I feel like it's a little bit like I was talking with Toshi earlier. We feel it's a little bit like walled and slow. I didn't love the Ice Fang Drapion. I actually was just trying it today, and I really didn't love it.
Yeah, call me Jake. Tell me why you think it's awesome. Besides those awesome looks.
Okay, so for me, I haven't actually tried out the one with Ice Fang. I've been using the one with Bite. And
Bite. Oh my.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna say that Jake, you're the one that created the hype around Bite Drapion for Twilight in Mirror. Because after that video, I saw so many Bite Drapions. I'm like, definitely this is a call me Jake thing. So there's certain moves that people do and people do videos on. I'm like, yeah, credit to you. So why Bite Drapion in this meta?
Well, because I feel like Drapion has that bulk to just use bite through all like the grass types. It may cost you a shield, but at the end of it, you're gonna have all that energy to use on the Pokemon that's coming in. So yeah, it's mainly like the bite damage, and if you invest a shield, you'll have the energy like to use on the Pokemon that's coming in to counter Drapion, whether it be like Sludge Bomb, an Aqua Tail, or like a Crunch.
Okay. I never considered bite, but certainly could be pretty interesting. I think a lot of
It
people.
just felt.
Go
It's
ahead.
mainly because I didn't have TMs, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead,
It
Gemma.
just felt like it took so long to charge the charge moves up. Like I had a newer, better IV Drapion, so when the first evening of timeless practice, it had bite, and it just felt so slow to get to the charge moves, and then I just TM to Ice Fang, and I go back and forth where I'm like, oh, I really like it, and then I don't like it at all, for the battle set. So I'll definitely be testing Ice Fang Drapion through practice. And you're talking about the other poisons. I was trying to make Muck work, but I just didn't find. I don't know. I'm sure it has its matchups, or maybe I'm just using it wrong. But like the Thunder Punch made me think, okay, maybe versus Lapras or Celio, but it just seemed that
Oh, does it
it
not
was get
beat?
taken out anyway.
Does it not beat Lapras in the? I thought it beat Lapras in the one shield. I might be wrong. Muck.
And it probably does. It's a good move. It just overall against all the other matchups, it didn't feel to me like it was doing enough for me to put it on my team 6.
Yeah, actually, CMP ties
Crunch.
with it. Interesting. Okay. And
Oh
it does
right, I did check that.
It beats Lapras in the
Sorry, go ahead.
2 shield, but that might be also IV dependent. Yeah, also IV dependent. Well, yeah, no, certainly a pretty interesting Pokemon with quite a few moves, a ton of moves. So there's certainly some variety that you can play around with. But I haven't encountered a ton of Mucks, but I'm sure there are some Muck fans out there.
For sure there is.
And then Swellot.
I remember trying that again. You in Twilight. It was like I had some success with it early on, and then I tried to battle King, and it was just not happening. It's just, so it's interesting. Someone did try to use a Swalot on me. I mean, it's got bulk, it's got okay charge moves. I feel there's better poison options for sure.
It's very bulky, actually. It's
Yeah, it is.
one of the few Pokemon in this meta that are actually bulkier than Lapras.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
So, but I always, maybe because it looks so goofy, right? It's like, are you really ready to battle, Swellot? Like, you seem not taking this very seriously right now, right? So, but Infestation, could charge up pretty decently. Has Ice Beam for Dragonair, has the Acid Spray to bait, and if you want to go more of a pure poison type move, you have Gunk Shot or Sludge Bomb. So there's a decent variety of moves that you can go with. But I just haven't seen people have a lot of success with it. I actually keep forgetting that's a pure poison type when I do battle it, but certainly some considerations. Okay.
We didn't mention it's not on the infographic, but we didn't mention Tentacruel.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of Tentacruel?
Tentacruel, it can make a good. It's got the nice acid spray as a bait, and then it's got a couple options in Blizzard and Hydro Pump as nukes. And I think you can make a nice swap in this meta. I haven't like used it a lot, but I am interested in it in that in that capacity. And so it didn't fit in the water, it didn't fit in the poison, but I think it's interesting just because there is a lot of it can hit like everything depending on what moves you have. It can hit like everything in the meta. So keep that one in mind.
Yeah, no, Tentacruel's always again has some decent stats to it as well.
It does.
Similar to Meganium. So pretty decent. How does this match up with the grass types though? So I imagine it is probably best matchup is against Meganium.
It's annoying, that's for sure. You're gonna have to shield. It's like you know what, I have to look it up exactly. But because I always end up shielding because you have to. It's just because the frenzy plant is just gonna be neutral. So
yeah, frenzy
I
plant
always
still
end up shielding the acid spray. So.
Yeah, you have to use acid spray, right? For pretty much all the grass.
yeah, you just keep acid spraying.
Ugh.
Yeah, and those poison jabs again. Acid spray paired with a fast move that does some damage can be pretty dangerous. And as well, Lapras does have to go for the Skull Bash in order to do damage, or at least a significant amount of damage to Tentacruel. So it actually beats Lapras in the 1 and the 2 shield.
Very nice. So.
Even after a double bait, and you just triple acid spray it.
And then you could have like you got options.
Seems so excessive to triple acid spray, but you totally need to do it.
Oh man.
You don't even actually get any further defense drops on the third acid spray.
I'm gonna remember this in LA.
Yeah, I can't wait to see someone do triple acid spray on something.
Oh gosh.
Leave it actually totally defenseless.
I was playing with somebody and I was like, "Do you have anything but acid spray?" Because he just kept doing like I think he got like 6. Yeah, it was good. And he was holding her, so I don't know. It was good. He was good.
Okay, and so some people are mentioning, how about Golduck? Confusion, Bubble Beam.
I've heard a few people mention it for some like off-meta surprises.
That's some play.
Does it? Okay, let's see. With Cross Chop, let's see. Confusion, Cross Chop. It beats Lapras in the 0 and in the 2.
No way. Does it really?
Doesn't even need to Bubble Beam bait. It just straight up cross chops.
Straight up. Ooh. Okay. And then you might have a Bubble Beam left over for the next guy.
You have 31 HP left, so, and it's what 3 more confusions to get to Bubble Beam, because you're left with how much energy? 15 energy. So, yeah, you need 3 more, but only 2 more to another cross chop. So could be interesting. As a pure water type, it has a bajillion moves like Bubble Beam, Cross Chop. You can also have Return Frustration on it, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, and Synchronoise.
Oh, every battler's friend or fan of to try to get the right charge move on a Pokemon with 3 or 4.
Yeah.
The struggles.
Just evolve a bunch. How much does it cost to give it an extra move? Maybe you'll just get them.
Yeah.
I think it's 50K. Yeah.
Oh no,
it hurts.
Man, it's harder.
But let's talk more about some of the other wild card picks, and we'll talk about some strategies. So another alternative category. Actually, let's talk about alternative ice types. So we talked about Celio. I think Celio certainly a meta Pokemon. Someone that people are going to definitely run a lot with that body slam spam ability to beat Lapras. But there was also other ice types as well. In this case, Snowy Cast Form. Any thoughts on Snowy Cast Form?
I'm waiting for it to snow so I can bring a bunch to California. I have 0 saved, but I'm going to catch as many as I can and just ship them over.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, is that compared to the other cast forms, like compared to water and compared to fire cast form, there's no coverage moves.
I was just saying, what is this coverage move? I'm sitting
Blizzard
here trying to.
And Ice Beam. Basically, you wouldn't run it. You wouldn't use any of them because Weather Ball
is OP.
Is pretty OP. Blizzard is slightly more energy efficient, just like by the slightest amount. But it's like
it needs a coverage move.
Yeah, no.
That's unfortunate.
It's not on here, but I've been running it the last couple days for whatever reason. Frostlass.
Frostlass, yeah, no.
Yeah, he ran it against me.
Yeah, and I'm not like, I don't know. It's like it's high ranked. It's, at first I thought it would like versus Dragonair, but like Dragonair can get to 2 Aqua Tails, I think, before you can get to a second Avalanche. So it is difficult, but I think you could potentially throw your opponent off with the amount of like Victory Bell or different Pokemon. Shadow Ball will hit hard, but it was just more of like a fun Pokemon to run. I think there's a reason it's left off this chart.
Yeah, that's the challenge with Frostlass is you can't switch in on Dragonair because
Right.
both Avalanche and Aquatail take 6 turns to get to on each one, right? And then as well, it just doesn't have enough bulk to get to the third one because of low. It's similar to like Vine Whip and Frenzy Plant because it's like 8 and 45, so it actually takes one less fast move to get to the third one than the first two. But because you're not bulky enough, like you just don't survive the Dragon Breaths, and you end up getting taken out by Dragonair, which is like pretty embarrassing for a nice type to get taken out by Dragon type when dealing.
Yeah, I learned that in practice when I first started using it.
But it has Avalanche and Shadow Ball, both stab. Gonna do a ton of damage to anything in the meta. Just like this lack of bulk is a little bit concerning. Okay. And then alternative dragon types: Kingdra, Shelgon.
I'm running all of them.
I know triple dragon strat. Okay, I was gonna go double dragon strat, but tell me this triple dragon strat.
Okay, so basically, it's the Shelgon, the Dragonair, and the Kingdra, and we actually have the maker of it in chat right now. Speediest Chief too. Yeah, he's my boy. But yeah, he's actually the one who created like the first video on it, I believe.
Yeah, definitely check him out on his YouTube channel. A really big up and comer, and posting some pretty crazy strats. So
yeah, so I watched his video and then I used it myself, and it works pretty well. You have the Dragonair that's pretty spammy. And all 3 of these Pokemon have that insane damage with its quick move, Dragon Breath. And then a lot of times I like to run the Kingdra either in the front or the back. Either in the front to have it, have that shield pressure, or in the back as a closer, because one cool fact about it is that if it has a shield up and your opponent has 0 shields, you win all the matchups in the entire cup with Kingdra in the back.
If you have 1 shield and they have 0,
yeah,
I think I found.
Isn't it 100%?
I found 2 exceptions.
Oh really?
Charm Raichu and Charm Donphan if it doesn't do a charge move.
Ah, okay.
So those are the only exceptions. Because
I saw a stat somewhere on Twitter about that.
Yeah, I think there was like, but they when you put in PV Poke, you put the 1 shield and 0, but in PV Poke they don't play in consideration. Is it better just to do the fast move than a charge move?
Oh, okay, I get that.
Which would be like very complicated.
That is actually the charm. You can win by like 1 HP or 33 HP. I was looking at this the other day, depending on your attack breakpoint. So you're right, you. But yeah, that is true. You do win that.
Whoever's gonna rock Charm Chew or
do it.
Or
actually, I just had someone message me to bring it up. I don't know if you guys got the same messages.
In the finals, he's like he sees his Kingdra come in, 1 shield, he's laughing, and then
oh my
Charm Chew comes out.
Oh no!
I'd be so pissed.
You'll still be able to take them out. Somehow you'll self piggyback your Dragon Breath, get an extra one off, KO it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
I thought that was a good read. You tweeting about Kingdra. I read that the other day
by Tangent. I don't know where Tangent's from. Man, I heard that name wherever. Tangent's in the chat, whatever. Shout out to them. Really great read on. They talked about like all the breakdowns, and I encourage people to check it out. If someone could post in the description, that'd be great. But yeah, really great read on how to play Kingdra.
Yeah, I need to read more for like when I'm up on different things, and like even if I don't use Kingdra, it was just like it helped me be or think about double shielding, whether as a lead or a closer.
Yeah, and a lot of times, like, you see those like two shield matchup. You see this very commonly with Razor Leaf or Charm users, where you like double shield, for example, right? And you can win the two shield matchup, but you're using two shields and they're only using one, but you're not really able to effectively get to the second charge move. But because of the nature of Dragon Breath being like higher energy generation than Charm or Razor Leaf, you're able to like effectively get to an outrage before your Kingdra faints, forcing the second shield or doing a ton of damage. Because there's not very many things in this meta that want to take an outrage from Kingdra unshielded. So you're gonna either like take out, like 3/4 of their Pokemon or KO their Pokemon, or force the second shield. So then you end up winning switch advantage and all that stuff. So certainly some play with Kingdra. Okay, how about Shelgon? So call me Jake. Tell me
Yeah.
the times when you're running Shelgon.
Well, I feel like out of those three dragons, he might be the worst one, because like Twister isn't really a great move at all, but Shelgon kind of has a little bit of bulk, right?
Okay,
little bit more than
let me take a look.
Dragonair, maybe.
Shelgon has the very slightly more bulk than
Okay.
very little. Like it's very similar.
All right. Well, usually I have Shelgon as like my anti either fire or grass. Again, a lot of the times if you're running the triple dragon strat, you'll have like your opponent will have a shield left when the match is already over, because a lot of the times your opponent won't expect that shield to be like the difference. It's going to be the amount of damage that comes from like the dragon breaths and like the charge moves combined.
All right, perfect. So I know you talked about triple dragon. Have you been finding it very effective to run all three dragons?
Yes, it really like depends on their lineup though. And
so what would be some things in someone's lineup that would encourage you to run triple dragon, three dragons in one line of three?
If I only see like one ice type, say Lapras, and then they have their grass, and then as long as there's not like two or more ice types, that's my cue to run triple dragon.
Okay, perfect. And I think it's very important to line up Kingdra to their ice type, because I think Kingdra has the best ice Lapras matchup, and that outrage can certainly do a lot, and it kind of forces Lapras to go for a Skull Bash, or at least go up for a Skull Bash. Like if they clearly have enough ice shards to threaten for a Skull Bash, then you really don't need to shield. Double resisting the surf doesn't do a ton of favors. Okay, how about these alternative ice counters? Lapras is so dominant. So you talk about Blaziken. We talked about Amistar, Ammonite, Relicanth. How about Lantern? I never thought I'd see the day where Lantern's in a cup, and it's not on the main page. It's so bulky, has such a interesting move pool, but why is Lantern not as hyped in this meta?
I think if you're gonna go with Lantern, you're gonna need to do Charge Beam Lantern, and I don't think it's that hyped because Charge Beam isn't that great of a move, but you're gonna need, like, to do its job, in my opinion, you're gonna need Charge Beam, but Charge Beam isn't that great of a move, and so it doesn't. I don't feel that it don't feel that it plays a very good role because of that.
Yeah, it's very difficult to farm down with the Charge Beam. And we have a special guest come join us. Speediest Chief, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm Speediest Chief. I know I do battle videos. I never actually shown my face. I guess this is the face reveal.
Oh, face reveal. Okay.
Ooh,
I got-
we're all here for it.
Have you Kim?
Yeah.
For the battles, have you seen Speediest Chief's face before?
I was gonna say I actually have. Yes, you did a video. Do you not remember? It was the first video I ever saw, and I thought, yes,
I
you
think
did.
I do remember.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is the second face reveal.
Second
yeah.
face reveal.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Because
was-
I was
that
like,
was so
for the
many
battles, your
subscribers
face
ago.
looked like you recognized him. So I was like,
Oh, very
He's-
cool,
he's
guys!
spent-
I'm so like incredibly humbled and honored to be here. I mean, this is just amazing. King, thank you.
yeah, no problem. So, what are your thoughts on these, Speedius, on these other ice counters and checks?
Right.
Pseudo. I know you're always covering some like really interesting picks. Have you tried out Pseudo Voodoo, Kabutops? I've never actually considered I don't even know what moves it has.
You know, I actually have a Pseudo Widow feature coming out in a couple of days. I really like Pseudo Widow because it does have access to counter. It's going to do well against Lapras and Celio, and then the Rock Slide just hits so many things so hard. I don't think you even really need to double move Pseudo Widow. I think if you just have Rock Slide, you don't need Earthquake. It is kind of hard to get to. It does give you a couple of wins, but the Rock Slide is just so devastating.
Rock Slide's a great
As
move.
far
And stab on
absolutely,
Rock Slide.
and then I would love to test Kabutops, but you probably have a better read on this than me. It's very squishy, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely more attack oriented.
Yeah.
Than let's see here, Kabutops. Yeah, it's very squishy. And I guess you get Mudshot, Ancient Power, kind of the same idea. But you have Stone Edge and Water Pulse, so not necessarily the same spice as you might find in an Omanyte with Bubble Beam, but you know, Stone Edge and Water Pulse, not fantastic coverage.
Yeah.
Especially when you already have Ancient Power.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of buzz about Ammonite. I think Ammonite's a really good pick. When you power it up that far, it gets really, really dense and really hard to deal with. I think I have a rank 39, but it's going to cost like 230,000 Stardust. It's just, it's like the Sableye, you know, the cup in a way.
Yeah.
You can.
It certainly can be quite expensive to power it up all the way. It's pretty much if you have a good IV one, then you're going to put it to level 40.
Exactly.
So Kabutops, it's interesting. It might be a cool spice pick, but I think there are like better Mudshot, Ancient Power users out there, like Amistar and Omanyte, its fellow fossil Pokemon. Okay, great. Okay, what do you guys think of the ghost types?
I'm too wimpy to use them.
They're okay. They're okay.
Ghost scare you, Gemma?
I just don't know if I'd use them properly. Like you see Haunter, like the highest ranked, of course, and you land a couple Shadow Balls, but it's just so squishy. I know that's what we say about it in every cup, but I have seen
it's very interesting because like this is a cup where psychic types are banned, right? Which is both good and bad, right? Because like obviously Shadow Claw, Shadow Ball is going to do a ton to psychic types, but that also means that there's way less confusion users, with the exception of Venomoth, Dustox, for example.
And if you hit a Lapras with Shadow Ball. If you could hit a Lapras with Shadow Ball, right? Like it does a lot of damage.
Absolute ton of
Nothing
damage.
leads to Shadow Ball.
And Drapion with Bite.
Oh, Drapion with
Ooh, yeah.
Bite? Yeah, no, that's very true.
So I think you've got a couple of interesting options. You've got Haunter. Obviously, the Shadow Ball is just going to devastate pretty much anything. And then when you have when you run into a team that doesn't have Venomoth, I think Haunter's a pretty safe Pokemon to go with. That Dragon Breath is going to melt it pretty quickly, but Dragon Breath does that to everything. And another ghost type I've seen a lot of is Dusclops. I see Dusclops with Hex and Ice Punch and Fire Punch. So you have that elemental coverage. It can really help you against the dragon types with the Ice Punch. And of course, Fire does well against the grass starters and things like that. Those are the two I've seen the most of.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was really hyped out on Haunter initially. I certainly used it in some matchups, but yeah, it can be tricky to use, right? And then you're like calculating. You're looking at your health. Especially like, okay, yeah, you can know all the sims and stuff, but sometimes you switch in, right? You switch on another Pokemon, try to do a lot of damage, and they switch out, and all this stuff, and you're just trying to do the calculation. It's like so difficult because you see your Haunter's health depleting like crazy, and but can if you're very good at baiting, you can bait the Shadow Punch and land the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball does a ton to so much in this meta. No one wants to get hit by a Shadow Ball.
Yeah, very true.
You don't want to get bald.
Yeah, exactly. And then how about Banette?
So annoying.
Any thoughts on Banette? Why is it annoying? The return Banette.
Because you don't want to get bald.
Yeah.
and you're gonna block a return, like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
like even so, return can actually do quite a bit because of that attack stat. Like,
Yeah, no,
it's good.
absolutely.
Yeah, if I was,
Someone's asked return or thunder.
ooh, spicy, huh?
The
Return.
thing is, like, I think return for the most part, even it certainly is going to be more energy efficient against water types, but Shadow Ball's still going to do a ton. Like, unless you're in like maybe a closed game scenario against Lapras, and you really need to land the thunder to KO it. Shadow Ball does 105, Thunder does 139, so it is like a pretty decent difference between those two. But the return bait is just so good because everyone's so scared of getting Shadow Balled, right? You don't want to get Shadow Balled, then your Pokemon's KO'd, and you're like, man, I really should have shielded that. Like, I think we've all been there, and you definitely don't want to that kind of regret. But do you see any play with Banette, or do you think again too squishy?
I don't like ghosts in this cup at all. But if I was going to use a ghost, it would probably be Bennett with return.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is actually like maybe contrary to other cups when I compare Haunter and Banette, is that I actually think that Haunter's poison typing helps it in this cup because like Iglees can go toe to toe against Victory Bell, against Razor Leafers, because it does resist it. It leaves it a little bit more bulky versus Banette with no resistance, just gets absolutely melted and shredded. So.
And then I've seen Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb as a move on Haunter it can put up a fight.
Yeah, no, for sure, absolutely, it can be pretty useful. Okay, how about Spiritomb? They have it in this graphic as well. I forget whose video I was watching, where someone was using a Spiritomb, but someone's video. Maybe it was PvP Steve. I don't know, someone's video. What do you think of Spiritomb? I think that's like always on the list whenever the Sableye gets banned. Any use for it? Only weakness is
Spiritomb is really interesting. It's the only dark and ghost type allowed in the cup. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, you always want to try to get the boost if you can. Regardless, but I don't know if it has much use. I think that dark type kind of hinders it a little bit, especially against the counter users. And again, I mean, it does have the advantage going up against something like Venomoth because it's not going to melt from the confusion. But you could say the same thing about Dusclops and Banette. A lot of people want to run a ghost and they try Haunter, but then it gets melted. So maybe that might be a bonus as well. I haven't really given a lot of thought to it, to be honest.
Okay. All right. And any other picks or considerations not on this list that we haven't talked about that you guys would think are worth bringing up? We kind of the highest ranked Pokemon that I see that we haven't talked about is I'm just double checking something on the list. Torkoal. Ranked 15.
We talked Torkoal a little bit in the Ferocious roundtable too. We wanted to have its potential, and it just.
We didn't talk.
I mean, its charge moves will explode something, but good luck getting to them. Or.
Go ahead for the battles.
Oh, sorry. So we didn't talk about Sunny Cast Form either when he mentioned the Torkoal.
Yeah,
Sunny
I like
Form.
Sunny Cast Form, but even like
Yeah, that's Solar Beam.
Rainy Cast Form. Rainy Cast Form can be pretty interesting too. Um, it can beat Lapras in the one shield. I think all you have to do is double Thunder too. You don't need to bait a Weather Ball. And PV Poké shows the bait, but you can actually just double double Weather Ball, double Thunder, and take out a Lapras. So that might be a pretty surprising matchup for people. But again, like when you get locked, this is the same problem with Sunny Cast Form. You get locked in with the Dragonair, like it doesn't have any counterplay, right? So it's like those weather balls are still going to do a lot, and it can get to it pretty decently fast after like 6 seconds or so. But that's not real. That's pretty much all.
Well,
all
Nine Tails, you at least have a little bit of an option.
Okay. Yeah. And how many of you guys are going to be considering? Let's talk about some strategies. So we talked about, Jake and Speedies. You talked about double and triple dragons. Another type that people are strongly considering, and part of that is to counter that strategy is double ice. Can tell me like what are some of the merits of running a double ice strategy? In this case, most likely Lapras and Celio. And in what considerations would you run both? Which considerations would you rather run Celio over Lapras, or Lapras over Celio?
If it was a Venusaur team, I'd say that would be a instead of like a Meganium team, that would be more of a consideration. If they don't have like they haven't got a Relicanth, something to like wall your Celio. I would say that would be a consideration for a double ice team, just because they are two of the tankiest Pokemon in the meta. And I guess if they don't have like a bunch of ghosts to resist all the body slams. But I actually was running that for a while, and it was a decent strategy. And then what did I put them with? I think I was trying a Skuntank as a swap, and it worked out. It was good. It was decent.
Yeah, for sure. At least for me, when I'm reading a lineup, because I am running double ice, at least for right now. When I see Venusaur, definitely more susceptible to using Lapras. When I actually see a Razor Leafer, and I talked about this earlier, when I see that their only grass is a Razor Leafer, I'm a little bit more inclined to use Celio, just because you're at least going to get one shield when they switch in their Razor Leafer, versus like with Lapras, unless you have like an extraordinary energy advantage, which is possible, but less likely than against Celio than with Celio. Then I prefer to run to Celio when I see Razor Leafer as their only type, or no Relicanth as another example, because at least you can hit Surf for neutral damage against Relicanth versus resisted body slams. Or you kind of feel trapped when you have a Celio versus a Relicanth. Like you would think
For
logically a Celio could take on a fish, but this is a rockfish. Yeah, this is a rockfish, right? Definitely does not have the anatomy made for a Celio. Okay.
One of the few that's done normal.
What are things, some strategies that so Speedius or Call Me Jake, you guys are both running, or at least right now considering triple dragon strats. Like, how do you guys deal with a double ice team?
I usually bring in like a Razor Leafer, and for my dragons, I either only have like one dragon on my team with that Razor Leafer, and then maybe like a Celio for the matchup against Lapras.
Okay, Speedius, how about yourself? What do you recommend for people that are running the infamous triple dragon strat?
I think there's a lot of merit to Triple Dragon, especially when you consider the different flexibilities of the dragons. But as you know, the ice types are going to be really tough to deal with. So what I found is that a lot of the ice types in Timeless are dual ice water types. And I've gotten into situations where if I have a ton of dragons on my team, I can really encourage my opponent to bring those ice types, and then I'll lead Victory Bell. And Victory Bell's Razor Leafs are just going to shred all of those water ice dual types. So I guess one of the pure ice types you could run is snowy castiform, and it's pretty dense, but there are also ways to deal with that. But like Jake said, I mean, if you can lure out the right Pokemon, then you are able to counter them the right way. I think Shelgon with his flamethrower gives you some coverage there. I think Dragonair is obviously the bulkiest one, and you can deal with some other things with the Aqua Tail. But again, it really depends. I think the Razor Leafer is the Dragon's best friend, if I had to sum it up.
Yeah, certainly pairing it with that, that's definitely a very relevant strategy. Are there any other strategies that you've seen that are pretty easy to rhyme off that would be relevant and have been discovered in the meta so far?
I like to go with some I mean, I've gone with leading something weak to grass and then just two grass counters, because one of my grass counters is always going to be workable as a swap, and then sometimes I almost hope that they switch out, and then I'm like, cool, well, I've got like a whole bunch of energy on this Skuntank, and then I've got like my Ninetales in the back anyway, and then just working from there. And so there's a lot of viable strategies in this cup.
Okay. How about this is a good transition to the next topic. Safest swaps in this meta, or safest swaps on your team.
It felt like Lapras was pretty
Dragonair?
safe. Like I'm not using Lapras right now on my team of 6. Like I mean, we're trying so many different teams. It's so early in our timeless practice, but definitely felt safe switching into Lapras.
Okay. Yeah.
Lapras can work as a Tentacle, can work as a Skuntank, can work as a swap. Dragonair sometimes.
Yeah, I really like Skuntank. At least I want to have it on my team of 6 as a swap in, just because especially on like a neutral matchup, like say you had Dragonair, right, and they had a Lapras, for example. Sometimes just switching a Skuntank, even though it's not necessarily a logical switch in, kind of confuses them for a moment, and then that allows you to, as Kimmy brought it up, build up some energy. And then you can usually you can win the switch in, because then you're able to spam Crunch or Sludge Bomb or Flamethrower, whatever moveset that you're running in, and then dictating the pace is pretty important to avoid that first matchup again. Speedius, what do you think?
I'm sorry. I'm in the same boat as Jimma. I really like Lapras as a safe switch. I think the Ice Shard is great against the grass types and the dragons, which are two of the big types you're going to see throughout the cup. If you go head to head with Victory Bell in an even matchup with Lapras, you can, if the opponent doesn't shield the surfs, you can actually bring it really down deep into the red, and it's a really, really great generalist across the board, and it has such great bulk as well. Even things like Drapion it can deal with pretty decently, and then especially if you can shield bait and land a Skull Bash, it just makes Lapras very, very hard to get rid of. And I've seen a lot of people kind of maybe bring in Blaziken or Sudowoodo, for example, and try to get rid of Lapras, but it's just so dense. I think, and not a lot of trainers are running those Pokemon, and even Blaziken has to watch out for the Surf as well. I just think Lapras, right now, I'm really loving it as a safe switch. I mean, if you start with Dragonair, run into something unfavorable, switch into Lapras, usually you're able to recover, depending on how your opponent responds, but a lot of the time it's actually a very good positive situation for you.
All right, perfect. And this is actually a pretty interesting discussion that I forgot to bring up. And Kim, or For the Battles, you made a video on this. Has anything changed since the video? Skull Bash, Lapras mirror match. That one for me, I still have a little bit of trouble with, and I find if you, I always end up in a situation where I end up losing that matchup, and I end up in like a terrible position because then you have like a really beefed up Lapras. What's your advice on how would you summarize the scenarios on how to play? Let's say the lead Skull Bash.
If you want to be if you're Lapras versus Lapras and you have the exact same moves and you want to be the last Lapras standing, there's like a couple things that you do want to do and you don't want to do, and that the first one is you don't want to not block the skull bash. Like you need to block the skull bash. And another one is if you're only gonna bait one surf, and even if they block the surf and then they block the skull bash after that, like you're gonna lose because you don't have like enough defense boosts. But if you double bait the surf and then they block both of the surfs, that's how you win. So you either need to just go straight soul bash or straight skull bash, or two surfs and then start skull bashing. But if you go like surf, bait that and they block it and then you start skull bashing, like you're gonna lose. So you have to either double bait or not bait at all.
Oh, interesting. Any consideration? Like, say you both go skull bash, can you attempt to piggyback 2.0?
I don't
try to get ahead.
Go ahead.
And get ahead on energy. I'm just playing this out in my mind. I've actually never tried it. Could you try to squeeze in an ice shard, and then again still 50-50? You're not QSAing there, but
I wouldn't not recommend not throwing the skull bash first, because if you plan to block it anyway, then there's like a 50% chance you might get an extra. Like I don't see it happening very often, but I guess it's 50%. So if you can not throw it first and then possibly get that extra one, that's something to consider. QSAing as well, because then you can possibly deny.
It's just hard to QSA same energy.
It is difficult. It is just in case maybe they're trying to wait you out as well.
Yeah.
This is like really like high level stuff. Honestly, most people are just gonna go for the skull bash, and that's like truthfully what I do is I kind of go for the skull bash.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a good point. Maybe from now on I'll wait. And you might get that extra, ice shard in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've never tried it, but I think it's a strategy worth at least exploring, because if you're able to get up one ice shard advantage, it might not even matter if they double bait you or whatever, right? I don't just potentially throwing out the idea.
Yeah, no, there's no reason not to. The literal only reason not to is, I guess, you have one more ice shard hitting you that you don't have like a defense boost.
Yes.
For, possibly. So that, if that's what it comes down to, that's what it comes down to.
Any relevant breakpoints?
I have to. You know what? It's been too long.
Okay, you take a minute and we can talk about some other.
There are breakpoints. I believe 7, 13 or 7, 14, 14 and 6, 13 for some was what Joe and I had, Toshi and I had. And then we had a friend whose was about attack 1 or 2 and then like 14 and 14. And yes, after a certain amount of skull bashes, the attack of the slightly higher attacked one, the ice shards stayed at a higher damage than did the ice shards from the one attack Lapras. And so at the end, it came down to one Lapras could get a surf, and then the other one wasn't
just
ready.
fainted it down. Yeah, just fainted it down. Yeah.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, there was an attack breakpoint, and it was like medium attack, 5, 6. I think it might have been 6 was the minimum. Yeah, I have to look that up.
Yeah, but so certainly there's some breakpoints, and normally for me, I always say like, unless a Pokemon is super meta, like you're gonna be in that mirror match like pretty often, or in that matchup like Wigglytuff, Vigoroth in jungle. Yes, having that attack point is super important, because that's going to be one of the most common matchups. Normally I tell people like, oh, you should just have the highest stat product, just because like you're going to be facing other Pokemon as well, and there's trade-offs and whatnot. But the Lapras mirror match, you're definitely going to run into it, and is something to consider and to factor in to see whether or not you're reaching the appropriate break-in bulk points to be able to win that matchup, or at least have a chance to win that matchup, or not lose that matchup. Alternatively,
That's some advanced stuff right there.
yeah, and I would say like only in super common matchups, because like if you're gonna design your Pokemon, especially from non optimally, you're gonna run into lots of situations where they're gonna be switched in, or you're gonna get other Pokemon, and you might not survive that charge move, or might get fainted down, or other considerations. Like generally, the stat product ends up being the best in that situation because it gives you the best generalist coverage. But there are certainly some matchups. Someone's like JR is pointing out a 14-3-0 Victory Bell outperforms a rank 1 Victory Bell against a rank 1 Lapras. Which, against Lapras is a very strong consideration. Or I looked at one example for the battles that I were battling, and I was trying to shield against her Skunk Tank to see whether or not my Victory Bell would faint down the Skunk Tank, but because I have a rank 1 Victory Bell, its attack stat is not high enough to actually to take out a Skunk Tank. So I've actually a more attack oriented one, especially in some scenarios where I know like this is their only grass counter, and I know that they have 2 Pokemon in the back that are really weak to grass. So sometimes you try to shield, and then they're like caught off guard, especially if they didn't shield the Leaf Blade, and then they realize that they might be in a little bit of trouble. Okay, so what teams of 3 are you liking? What do you find really effective? What teams of 6 are you having? What are you guys liking?
I don't mind my Wish Cash and Celio. I know it's like extremely weak to the Razor Leafers, but I like the grass in general. Try to be spammy with those 2. And I like throwing like Venusaur on that squad as well. It's had some success. So Wish Cash, Venusaur, Celio.
Okay.
Really depends.
Wish Cash. Okay. Celio. Okay. How about?
I don't know how successful. It's like now I'm thinking like because it can be countered so easy.
No. The teams, of course, any team can be countered easily.
Right.
Like, if you line up any Pokemon, 3 Pokemon, you can be like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna line up these 3 ones. But which ones have you found like the most success with?
I like heavy hitting mons. I've been trying Meganium, Lapras, and then a swap of something. It kind of depends on their team, honestly. Like if they have a Wizcast on their team, I'm not going to use a Skuntank as a safe swap, or if I don't think that they're going to use it, maybe. But it depends on their team. But Meganium's pairing pretty well with Lapras, and then adjust accordingly.
There's a pretty aggressive duo that I've had a lot of success with so far. It's Charizard and Victory Bell. It's just an interesting combination because they're both relatively glassy, so you do have to be very careful, especially with a lot of Pokemon in this cup that are very meta that have access to a water type attack. You do have to be very, very careful with Charizard, but I found that if you can farm something down, you can get maybe 2 or 3 Dragon Claws off on whatever comes in next, so you can burn right through some shields, and then Victory Bell is going to take out any kind of serious water threat or water ice threat to Charizard as well. And then maybe just throw in a generalist like Dragonair or Lapras, and that trio has been performing pretty well for me so far.
Okay, perfect.
And King, is that what you said you were pairing with your Blaziken, like a Victory Bell or a Grass user? Did you say that earlier?
For me, I like as a safe swap. I like Celio a lot, just because like Body Slam or Roar Beam, unless they have Relicanth, then obviously I feel a little less comfortable. But Celio is just so spammy, does a lot of damage. So a couple of lines that I've been running is like running a more like dangerous Pokemon out in front, so like a Blaziken right? And
I've
then
seen
and
that.
then, and then especially when I have Blaziken on my team of 6, no one thinks I'm going to run it just because it's so squishy and so glassy. So then they're like confident running Lapras, for example, or whichever Pokemon, or sometimes some people don't necessarily know the matchups and they see it as a fire type and immediately switch out, even though Blaziken's so squishy and it sometimes loses matchups against grass types, unfortunately. But and then pairing it with Celio to hopefully to get enough energy advantage to win the lead, and then just pairing up Blaziken in the right situation, or blast burning somebody when they're not expecting it, and then fainting down with. So a lot of times I like letting Blaziken, Victory Bell, Celio, and just like hitting them with a blast burn on Dragonair, thinking that they're gonna that they can resist it, but then they're super low, and I just come in with Victory Bell and just Razor Leaf them down, or whatever the scenario is. So anyways,
I had some fun with Blaziken at the start, but it just felt like you almost always had to shield it. Like I'd bring it in or it'd do well with the counter, and then it's like a charge move comes in, like, oh dang, I probably should shield this, or you just like let it go. It's just like you said.
Sometimes I purposely go for the Blaze Kick, hoping that they don't shield, knowing that's the weaker one, and then just farm them down with shields up.
Okay.
Afterwards, right, and I don't even bother shielding Blaziken. So there's certainly a lot of times where I've let like Surf come through or another charge move come through, and then hopefully just finish them off with fast moves in the back. Some people saying JG11 saying I'm liking Blaziken, Victory Bell, Kingdra. Kingdra again, another great safe swap. Can be really annoying to deal with. The Dragon Breath damage does so much, and that matchup against Lapras, even though slightly favors Lapras, like you definitely need to land that Skull Bash, and shield the Outrage. So, and it's gonna put you super low with those cumulative Dragon Breath damage.
I think Kingdra is a great shield buster. If you come in, if you swap in Kingdra and your opponent doesn't have something that can get rid of it really quickly, you know that you have to shield that Outrage. So at least you're going to get one shield out of the matchup. And then all that Dragon Breath does such great neutral damage as well. So it really chips down whatever it is.
For sure. I don't even know what is the best counter to Kingdra in the timeless meta.
It's probably like a Razor Leafer.
Yeah. Yeah,
really?
Leafer, or Meganium, or Venusaur.
How does Seadra do?
Ooh, Seadra. Who did a video on Seadra?
We have an expert here for the battles.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, you did the video. Okay, I was like, someone did a video on Seadra. I was like, who the heck did a video on Seadra? Okay,
I think she did that as a good setup.
Tell us about.
No, I was actually just legit wondering how, because it's gonna be dealing super effective damage, but it's not gonna be taking it. But it's not gonna be stab. And I need to look up, as I was thinking, like how does the Seadra do with the Kingdra?
Seadra beats Kingdra.
Yeah, it should win. It wins.
In the 1 and the 2, and obviously they CMP tie in the 0.
And then if it is a CMP tie, yeah, but. There you go.
Yeah, you can actually switch in a little bit late still, too. And
as with the try triple dragons and Seadra, just blow their own minds, man.
Yeah. Actually, let's see here. You can actually just straight Dragon Breath, shield the Outrage, and then carry forward that Dragon Pulse to the next Pokemon.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah,
Dragon Pulse is certainly not as good as Outrage, but
doing a little bit.
Still gonna do a lot of damage to whatever comes next. Can you
have? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, here's a good question for you from Jokes. Can Seadra beat Dragonair?
Yeah, that's actually one of its best matchups. I mean, that's what it's here for. Seadra is here. It's like Dragonair is its kind of like its key matchup, like Dragonair and like Haunter. Yes.
Can it beat Lapras?
I don't believe it can. There would have been some shielding scenarios. There always, if it lands a bunch of Dragon Pulse, but I believe Lapras does beat Seadra. Seadra is here to be annoying to dragons. But yeah, it's a water type, and I don't think it beats Lapras.
Ooh, you could beat Lapras
It can't.
if it shields the Skull Bash.
It has to shield the Skull Bash. So Skull Bash is like super devastating to Seadra. But if it shields,
does that like 80% of its health?
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
But yeah, if you shield the Skull Bash, then you win the one shield.
Yeah.
So some of those matchups like are really just a guessing game, right? And can certainly flip if they don't land the bait, which is a pretty it beats other dragons with nothing but Dragon Breath, and someone says it's actually pretty impressive despite its crappy win rate. Obviously, it's like it doesn't fulfill the role of Dragonair. In the sense that it doesn't beat the grass types, for example, because obviously it would be weak to grass.
Yes.
And then as well, it doesn't have the double resistance to water and to fire like Kingdra does. So definitely more like anti-meta type play with Seadra. Okay. Cochino Mom's asking about Sceptile.
My God.
Okay, Call Me Jake's dreading this conversation. Shaking
Way
his
too
head.
squishy. Way too squishy.
Way too squishy.
Just my opinion.
I tried it too. Like, it just didn't feel like I could make it work. Like, I had a couple matches where you're like, yeah, and you like get a couple of the charge moves off and get a win, but it just felt like consistently wasn't playing it right, maybe. But like Jake said, it's pretty squishy. I know she's a Cochino Mom is a big Sceptile fan. But I just feel like a tournament, 6-round tournament, to get that many wins with it, it's gonna be tough.
Yeah, let's see here. I'm just running the Sims right now. So you actually need. Most of the time, I tell people like, "Hey, you can just get away with Leaf Blade, but you need Frenzy Plant to win the one shield versus Lapras."
Yeah, that was the excitement. Like, I had my Sceptile and I hit Frenzy Plant on the Lapras, and it was amazing because it just like exploded the Lapras. But
yeah, 156 damage one. But then if you run, you probably need Leaf Blade for a lot of matchups. Just because
then you kind of want to run Dragon Claw sometimes, right? Because there's so many dragons.
Yeah, you certainly can run Dragon Claw, and I doubt it beats Dragonair. Let's see.
Oh, so maybe not even worth it then if you're not getting the wins with the Dragon Claw. Could you run double grass then for the charge moves, or?
Yeah, you for the Lapras match, which is not necessarily a terrible idea, right? Running it for that is not a terrible idea. Or I don't know, like if someone tries to switch in a Venomoth on you, then you could aerial ace it. I definitely seen some people run Sceptile, no grass moves.
Wow.
So what? Aerial Ace Dragon Claw or
Aerial Ace Dragon Claw, right? Or Dragon Claw Earthquake.
Right? I mean, if you're only running like Frenzy Plant, Leaf Blade, then Sceptile is going to get walled by the fires and the other grass.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. So if you pair Sceptile with a Razor Leafer, right, then it's more of a utility Pokemon when it doesn't have any grass moves. Not necessarily would I recommend that, like, because Aerial Ace is probably actually not even enough to win you. Is it enough to win you against other grass Pokemon?
I don't think against Venusaur. I don't.
Let's see here. So it beats Venusaur in the 2 shield.
It does in the 2 shield?
It requires a double. Does it require? It requires at least one Leaf Blade bait or landing the Aerial Ace. So, like, you land one of 3.
It just feels like you would just run Meganium or Venusaur instead.
Yeah, no, it could be a surprise pick. There's lots of movesets to consider, but it's too squishy to have 3 shields. Yeah, it definitely needs 3 shields. Sceptile would be amazing with 3 shields.
Yeah. Or to be, that works too.
Okay.
He's like, okay.
And I think that's hopefully we've satisfied Kuchinamov can stop spamming the chat about Sceptile. We've talked enough about it. It has some use, but there are probably better grass types or better grass starters to use in the meta. But you can certainly win with a Sceptile. We're not saying you can't, but you certainly can. Okay, some people are jokes is bringing up Grottle and Bayleaf. What do you think of that? Bayleaf always really interesting because of that ancient power.
Yep.
Able to nuke Charizard, for example, nuke Sunny Castform or Ninetales. So it has some counterplay, and actually has some pretty decent bulk on it.
I probably wouldn't use Bayleaf if I was going to use a Razor Leafer, because I would just want to have unless I just wasn't I didn't care about any other starter, because it takes up a starter position.
Yes.
And I feel like you could just use Gloom or some other Razor Leafer, and then
I agree. Only if you really care about if Charizard becomes super meta. Sure, right?
Yeah.
It might have some play, but you're almost for sure gonna shield the ancient power. There's really no reason not to shield it if you're a Charizard and you see a charge move coming from Bayleaf. How about Grottle? Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just not going to cut it.
I think Grottle's a little more interesting, but just barely, because it does have return. Does it have return? Is there purified Turtwigs? Yeah, right?
I think there is.
Oh
Yeah.
but I think you want Body Slam.
Body Slam.
It already has Body
Slam.
Slam.
Yeah.
Okay, you could go really spicy and Body Slam return.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All neutral. Yeah.
But Body Slam actually does more damage in return.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah, Grottle
A
doesn't
for
have
effort, right?
doesn't have a good second charge move. That's his problem. Energy Ball and Solar Beam. If it had something more interesting, then it could have some play. But there are probably better grass Pokemon to consider.
Especially if it's going to take a starter spot.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Okay. No discussion on Penguin King Empoleon. So I was saying if Empoleon had Hydro Cannon,
Yep.
I think it would definitely be on this meta document. It might be on the wildcard section, but with its steel typing and with Hydro Cannon, Flash Cannon is probably the moveset that you would have wanted. That it's able to beat Lapras and Dragonair.
Oh, yeah, that'd be huge.
Yeah, it'd be nuts.
Yeah, and
Hydro Cannon.
And as well, with the steel typing, it's going to take neutral from grass. It's still pretty squishy, but it would definitely have some play in this meta if it had Hydro Cannon. It still can be run, but it's a very spicy pick if you do run it.
The only Pokemon here that resists Dragon, but that's the only thing that's going for it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, not really too much.
It's bad.
If Aloha Hardout says if you could pick, I'm assuming a Mon in this meta to change its moveset, what would it be and why?
Sunny Cast Form and give it a something other than Solar Beam as a coverage move.
Yeah, I guess it's give it return.
Ooh,
There
no.
you go, right? I don't know. Something. Don't give it. What could you give it? What could you give it?
Oh, you
Like
could.
you want to hit Dragonair and
Oh.
fellow. Oh, bubble. Yeah. I guess to nerf the Dragonair.
No, I'm just kidding.
Ooh, give it fire spin on Sunnycast form. It still wouldn't give it any coverage against Dragonair, but
Just give it like energy ball and weather ball, but make one of them grass and one of them fire. You know,
but nothing for a Dragonair still.
break everything. No, I know it's not. No, it's bad for Dragonair.
Give it a I don't know, something. Yeah, return. Return's like my default one because
Okay.
a lot of Pokemon can get it and all that stuff. Oh, someone said bubble on melodic.
Ooh.
Okay, yeah, and I like that. I like that. Just more energy gain. Pretty decent move. Good move. Bubbles. Good move. Ooh, okay. Someone says, what do you think of Houndoom?
We don't. I don't know.
Houndoom is actually like pretty. I'm not sure you guys watched my video. Me against C9 got him, or I think he's going. Pogo got him. He ran Houndoom.
Oh my god.
And it was actually like pretty. Man, foul play. It has Snarl and foul play.
Snarl, I was gonna say, because Snarl's been buffed, it should be pretty quick.
Yeah, it does.
It
really
is,
quick.
yeah.
And foul play actually does a lot. Like Lapras definitely cannot take 2 foul plays.
You shoutcasted our tournament the other day with Oscar Licious. I believe he has 100% win rate right now with his tournament. And I think I saw Houndoom on his ferocious team.
Interesting.
So you know, give it a look.
Ooh, someone said, "Give Celio Surf."
Oh, interesting.
Someone JR says, "Give Dragonair Ancient Power." Ancient Power, no. Doesn't.
Oh boy, I would love that.
That would be too much.
No, I would love that.
Power, if you gave Ancient Power, it would really threaten. It would give Flygon Dragon Breath.
Oh yeah.
I like that.
Ooh yeah.
Man, I was advocating so hard for the Community Day move to be Dragon Breath. It didn't get
that. Birth Power? Yeah.
What if we gave Ludicolo a charge move that it could get off quicker than Ice Beam?
Surf.
Something quicker.
Surf. Leaf Blade. I don't know. There's a... Give any...
Return.
Ooh, give any current Razor Leaf or Vine Whip. Says Verge.
Vine Whip. Ludicolo.
Yeah.
Okay, would Sceptile be better if it had Vine Whip?
Would it?
The thing is, like Vine Whip and Fury Cutter, same energy generation. Vine Whip does more damage. Fury Cutter gives it a little bit more coverage, I guess. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Ice Punch on Abomasnow.
That'd be pretty cool.
Dude, I think that would be actually pretty good if it had learned Ice Punch. But yeah, and yeah, lots of different moves. But this meta. Okay, let's get to the before we get to what you think are good teams of 6 or further teams of 3. I think a big question around this meta. So I think there's a lot of hype around this meta when it first came out, right? Because it looked really interesting. A lot of the Pokemon remind us of very nostalgic and great cups in the past, like Twilight, Venomoth, Skuntank, and Rainbow with Venusaur, Quagsire, Lapras, etc., etc. But my question is this meta too Lapras Dragonair centric? Are we gonna eventually get bored of? We always get bored of metas eventually. But do you think these two Pokemon are too common? Will be run in too many lines of 3 that will be kind of sick of it, or do you think it's gonna balance itself out?
Yes, but not sick like ferocious sick. I don't know if that's like they're both great Pokemon. I feel like you don't have to use them, but I think you're gonna see lots, like so many.
I feel like there's so many other Pokemon that even though you do see them basically on every team, a lot of times they're like the only ones that you're seeing on the team, between people. And so the teams are all looking like really, really different, regardless of most, 80% of them having Lapras and Dragonair.
Yeah, and Matt Swar brought up, you can still meme in this cup.
Oh, yes.
Very true.
Which
You can.
Which I
Yeah.
think is important. You couldn't really meme in Ferocious.
No.
It's like, you got
Kabuto or an Omanite is just, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, so when you can meme in the cup, then it can be pretty good.
I think it's a good cup, and I think the meta won't change drastically. But once tournaments start happening, like as each week goes by, you'll see different spice picks. There's different teams of 3 and 6 that will kind of evolve and make the cup fun. I think it's a fun cup overall, but definitely a lot of Lapras and Dragonair.
Okay, all right. I do have to send out gifts pretty soon before midnight because I haven't done that yet. So I think we're gonna look to wrap up this stream. But before we do wrap up, one advice that you would give to somebody as they're preparing for this cup, preparing for a tournament, preparing for a battle, any of those scenarios. I'll give each of you a little bit of time to think about it. Yes, Marto, I'll send you a gift. Don't worry.
Know your matchups.
Ooh, know your matchup. Okay, do your homework. Know your matchups.
Do your homework as far as include IVs in some of these matchups.
Okay.
But just generally know your matchups, and I would just give that for every cup. But yeah, there's a few close matches in here, and you don't want to waste. Like, I found myself wasting shields on people getting 2 surfs in a row, and I'm like, well, okay. So yeah, know your matchups.
Okay, perfect. Anyone else?
I would say, I would say have a plan. Like, have like lines of 3 that you enjoy running that are good. And also I would say have a swap. In case your opponent has a team that you aren't ready for, like have swaps that are like pretty safe against, like teams you played against. Yeah, having that swap always helps if you had like a terrible lead scenario.
Perfect. Jimma, Speedy.
Look to be different, like in your teams of 3 and 6. Not like totally different. Like just look for an opportunity to like just be a little different, to throw your opponent off, and to just really stress test your team. Like if you lose with your team of 6 and 3 a lot, like just really look at the footage and look to see if you played it right before you start trashing your team. And I guess that goes back to just so know your matchups, like for the battle said.
Serious.
Yeah, I think it's really important in this cup, and something I'm really excited about is to go to a tournament and actually see all these different kind of team compositions and how they're built, because you're going to have Charizard teams, you're going to have Meganium teams, you might have a Sceptile team, and I think this is a really unique cup in the way that it hasn't kind of gone that way before. And going to that point, I think you need to really learn how to complement your starter. I think whatever starter you pick, you really need to build a strong team around it and kind of learn how that starter works. So if you're running a Charizard squad and you end up encountering a Blastoise team, you need to be able to kind of maneuver your way around that. I think that's a really kind of a really important factor for this cup. In other cups, you could kind of just use the top meta picks and kind of finesse your way through a matchup. But I think in this one, it really comes down to the starter, and the starter is very key in building a strong team behind it.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you for you to joining this stream and this meta discussion. And don't forget to check out all their channels. We'll tweet it out and all that stuff, and as well, we'll share this meta document. Thank you, Game Press. Thank you, Lorma96 for creating and allowing us to use it. And good luck in everyone in your timeless cup battles and tournaments. And we look forward to following it and seeing it on Twitter and elsewhere.
Thanks
for having us, King.
Awesome.
Always
Thank
fun.
you for watching, everybody.